Totally different settings, but like.
It doesn't. They're saying when we get to say just get your splitter. You're on scholarship. To the fee proposal and final form of agreement. I mean, it's, Dave gave you a law.
Oh, they're really good. Thanks, Trustees. I know today.
Yeah. So you're saying. He wants to beg. Okay. So.
Finished up golf and ended up very well.
Yes.
Your folder so you can
Negotiation.
yesterday. Yeah. It's called point charge.
It's not about negotiation.
It's something that they.
You'll read it first. I will read it.
I didn't even put that in.
We just execute. We will go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the. Okay, yeah, there we go. Welcome everyone to the regular Board of Trustees meeting today, Wednesday, October 16th, at this glorious, beautiful morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and Trustee Smith has agreed to lead us in a pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So roll call. We do have Trustee Wasserberger joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Trustee Wasserberger. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for acknowledging that I was joining by Zoom for our audience. So I appreciate that.
Yes, if she does have to leave, it's because she's on the way to save a life of a very newborn child. So be ready for that. So welcome, everybody. Roll call. We do have a quorum. Thank you. If everybody would look additions or deletions to the agenda for today, October 16th. Are there any changes to the agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion. So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Trustee Williams and seconded by Trustee Anderson to approve the agenda for today, the regular Gillette Community College Board of Trustees meeting, October 16th, 2024. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Approval of the consent agenda. Any items that they would like pulled off? If not,
I have a minor correction in the minutes.
okay. Do we have to pull the minutes off to make a correction? Or can we just make the correction?
I think you can approve the consent agenda with the addition of the changes that Trustee Anderson.
Thank you, Trustee Anderson. What are those corrections?
In organizational reports, being the advisory board report, hay is difficult to bring in because some of it may not qualify to come into the state because it contains invasive seeds, not evasive seeds.
Okay. Make that correction with invasive instead of evasive. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. I would entertain a motion with that slight change. So moved. All right, it has been moved and seconded by Trustee Palmer and seconded by Trustee Williams to approve the consent agenda with the one minor clerical change. All those in favor, actually for today, any discussion? Any further discussion?
Blame it on the cheap grass.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Excellent, motion carries. For the good of the district, President Overlander.
Chair McGrath, trustees, it's our pleasure to introduce today our faculty, staff, and students of the month. And we're going to start this session with our faculty of the month. And here to present is Dean Lindsay Wakefield. Dean Wakefield.
Chair McGrath, trustees, President Oberlander. I'm happy to introduce a distinguished nursing faculty member for the Faculty Spotlight of October 2024. This faculty member has been a Gillette College employee since 2021, demonstrating exceptional commitment to nursing education. She has degrees from Great Basin College and Western Governors University. She has the best clinical judgment and critical thinking skills that I have seen. And I know that Trustee Wasserberger can appreciate those attributes. This not only makes her an excellent nurse to her patients, but also an amazing instructor to her students. Her commitment to the success of her students and her leadership within the nursing department make her an invaluable asset to our college. The dedication and expertise demonstrated by Rochelle Ginrich truly embody the highest standards of academic excellence and mentorship at Gillette College, making her a well-deserved candidate for the Faculty Spotlight for October.
I don't like being put on the spotlight.
What do you want?
Is there anything you'd like to add? Congratulations. Wonderful. It's been fabulous having you on our faculty. So is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so.
Any questions from the Board of Trustees?
Chair McGrath, if I can make a comment.
Please.
I would just like to extend the congratulations as well. And I just think for the rest of the audience to understand, Rochelle also acts as house supervisor and maybe even other staffing roles at our hospital. But I get to see both her and Dean Wakefield actually in that role. And I applaud both of them for maintaining their level of nursing skill and expertise to ensure that we're at the most current standards for patient care. And the fact that they continue to be hospital employees really show that lifelong learning, and they're not just filling a gap. They're leading our facilities and they're leading our college. And so I give you accolades for putting on yet another hat, because those of us who have jobs and then have extra jobs on top of that, I think you see that a lot in the healthcare field, but I think it's critical because it takes that much work. So congratulations to Rochelle because you're our spotlight, but also to Dean Wakefield because you exude that as well. So thank you, ladies, for all you do.
Thank you, Tracy.
Give us a little bit about your background.
So my background is ER. I've done some med surge, but my true love and world was always ER. But like Dr. or Ms. Wasserberger alluded to, I wear a lot of hats. So now this is my full-time gig. I still pick up shifts at the hospital as house supervisor in ER and in BHS. So I work alongside of our recent graduates and past alumni. So I think it takes a different role because as an instructor, I know that these are going to be people I'm going to potentially be working with. And so I might be a little more stringent or about what my expectations are, a little bit higher level.
Your question. Okay. On behalf of the board, thank you for all you do and all that you've done. We very much appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Well done.
Chair McGrath, trustees, here to introduce our staff member of the month is Ms. Renee Collins.
Good morning, Chair and trustees. The staff spotlight was selected for IT this month, and I nominated Tyler Buchan. He is celebrating the month of October, his one-year anniversary with the college. Prior to that, he was a graduate of Gillette College in the network administration path. So I'm excited to have him on board. He's been invaluable with all of the activities that we've been doing to transition away from Sheridan College. So that's been great. And I know I asked him a question. I was like, so what is one thing that surprised you when you started this position? And he said, talking with people. So, the customer service aspect is, critical in our role. There might be a lot of people that don't realize that, but we get to engage with everyone when we're helping out. So anyway, I'm excited to nominate Tyler.
Thank you, Renee, for mentioning me as a staff of the month, and thank you, board. It's been an honor and really fun past year, and I really look forward to more. And
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Well, you graduated here, right?
Mhm.
You graduated from Camp High School,
yes, I did.
so you went to Twin Spruce?
Yes, I did.
Next question is, what elementary school did you go to?
I went to Lakeview.
Oh, Lakeview. Yeah, that's my area, good.
Anything else on that?
Well, how did you get interested in the IT stuff?
So I've been around computers basically my entire life, honestly. I started college going for an aerospace engineering degree, but decided that was not for me and went straight to networking.
Chair McGrath.
Yes, please.
So Tyler has been, it's been a pleasure for you to be on our campus. And when Tyler first started, he's right, he didn't talk to us. We had to really pull out of, but he certainly has guided me through printing issues and is, helping write the book that we all announced at faculty, staff, printers that work and other fairy tales. He's helping write chapters in that book. But he has certainly been so very helpful in the transition. And recently, the last transition that we're working through is our testing center, bringing all of that software over. And he, along with Isaiah, his counterpart, are really working through troubleshooting that and some of the Zoom rooms issues that popped up this summer. Tyler was the one that tracked those down and successfully completed those transitions. So your work here is very valuable, and we so appreciate all that you do for us, but I really appreciate what you do for me.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the board, thank you for dealing with our ineptness when it comes to some of the technology issues that you guys have to deal with. So thank you for that. I'll defer to Larry.
And Tyler, I don't understand a bit about talking in public.
And on the flip side, I'm sure you've heard, I already did that. And you want to respond with, well, if you did, it would work. So obviously, I'm from, I have a friend who says that to me about the IT, and I'm like, stop. So anyway, thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Chair McGrath, trustees, we're also pleased to have a CTE student being recognized as our student of the month, and here to present on behalf of Dean Grubb is Sky Stitt. So Sky.
So I didn't know that I was supposed to prepare something to say about Jonathan, but it's not because of his lack of achievements or being a good student. As far as non-traditional students go, I think Jonathan's a great example of, changing the direction of his life. When he started the program, he was working at Old Chicago in the kitchen. And from the first day I had him in class, I seen that he was serious about wanting to learn diesel technology and become a diesel technician. Shortly into his studies here, I was approached by Torgerson's, and they said, we need one of your best and brightest. And Jonathan was who came to mind immediately. So I was happy to help connect him with that opportunity. And through that employer, I believe he's gotten quite a few different opportunities as far as scholarships and grants.
So I got a 2-year full ride scholarship,
Yeah, so he's done really, really well over there. I've spoken with his supervisors, coworkers. They think very highly of him, and he's just been a pleasure to have in class as far as a student that reads chapters that he's supposed to, shows up with the information, sometimes keeps me on my toes, like knowing a little bit more about the material than I might. That's Jonathan. So, Jonathan Oriana, he will stand for questions.
Thank you for having me. It's really been a really good experience being here. As Sky mentioned, I've been through quite a bit to get me here, but thank you guys.
Thank you. Questions for me?
Chair McGrath, Jonathan, if I'm not mistaken, you were recognized at the Student Involvement Banquet last.
Yes,
Can you remind us of that award?
that was the most inspirational student award. Yep.
So where did you come from, Jonathan?
So I lived in California. I was born in California, Orange County. And right around the age of 7, got taken by my grandparents, lived in Michigan to about 15 when I went back to California. And I was reunited with my father and just thinking I was a know-it-all teenager, got myself in some unlikely scenarios and unwanted scenarios for sure.
How'd you end up in Gillette?
Funny story. A girl and we were actually living in Vegas and we were trying to get out of our situation. I pulled up a map of the United States on the phone and I said, "Where do you want to go?" And she closed her eyes and she said, and that's how we got here.
I love everything about that.
That's where, well,
What kind of work are you doing at Charterson's?
I do all kinds of work from yanking engines to rebuilding axles to services to electrical work every now and then. We work on heavy equipment. They are a case dealer and we get a lot of agricultural equipment and a lot of construction equipment in there. I love it.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Are you in your second year then?
Yes, this December will be my last. I'll be done. Walking away with the associates.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent. Question?
Chair McGrath, Jonathan, I think you are an inspiration. I think you have done and made some decisions in your life that maybe weren't the best, but you also made decisions to change your life. And education has helped you advance and has changed generations for you. Your family tree now has changed because of the education you pursued at Gillette College. And I find that to be so inspirational. And I'm so glad you chose Gillette. I'm so glad the universe worked out.
Yeah, it was funny, I actually didn't even know that the Gillette College was here. I didn't even know we had a college, let alone that we had work programs, like diesel or welding or electrician. I was actually in the kitchen of old Chicago, and I was just saying, I need to get out of here. I don't see myself here when I'm 40, and it's coming up quick. And, there was actually a student that was coming to the diesel program here and he was the one who told me about it, so I'm a felon. And as me knowing that I've made those mistakes in my life, sometimes they hold me back. And he said, "Don't let it hold you back, man. Go sign up." He said, "What's the worst that they'll tell you?" So I came and signed up and had zero problems as far as that's concerned, so.
And I have no doubt you're just going to continue to excel. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations from all of us.
Congratulations. Such an inspiration to all of us.
We were clapping, Tracy. Please say again.
Oh, I just said congratulations. I mean, honestly, that's the best inspiration to everybody and it exudes what we're here for as a college. So great job.
Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Chairman, we like to take a picture. So.
Okay. Well, do you want
Yeah.
to wait till they're all done or?
Yeah.
I thought we had Jill. Okay.
That's a different one.
Okay.
Yeah, so Rachel. Jonathan. The trustees will take a picture.
Yes, absolutely.
You got your minutes.
Mine are great.
Surgery.
Come on in, yeah, everybody.
Squishy and.
I know, it's all good, good.
You guys all step up.
We have to let the tall people get back.
Okay, perfect. You're too short. Look at there. Okay.
Good thing I got one. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, wait, yeah, I should do mine.
Bye, Tracy.
Congratulations.
Thank you for all your work. Thank you for your. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, moving on to the Innovative Educator of the Year nominee.
Democrat Trustees, Dr. Dean Fashbaugh is here to talk about the nomination he made for the Wyoming Department of Education Innovator of the Year Award. So Dean Fashbaugh.
Chair McGrath, members of the Board of Trustees, President Oberlander, it certainly was my pleasure to nominate Dr. Jill Mascio as Gillette College's Faculty Innovator of the Year. The winner will be announced at the Innovation Conference this Monday at the annual conference, and I'll be accompanying her next week. Dr. Mascio has continuously shown a willingness to change pedagogical strategies to adapt to student needs. Dr. Mascio has innovatively utilized classroom techniques to get students to apply concepts in her courses. For example, for her fall 2023 biological psychology class, Dr. Mascio took her students to Area 59 to create a game to prevent neurodegenerative brain diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And that actually was in the paper. That was in the local paper. Her students used a computer program to cut the game into a material of their choice. The students' reasoning for utilizing the technologies for the game was rooted in lessons they learned in the classroom. And I can give so many other examples of Dr. Mascio's innovation. She was the first person I thought of when I had the opportunity to nominate someone for this award. So it was definitely my pleasure, and let's hope that she wins the statewide award next week. So, and Dr. Mascio is not here. She's probably teaching a class right now, but I'm open to any questions you may have about her and accomplishments.
Questions from the trustees?
How many candidates are there for the winner?
That's a great question. Yeah, I would imagine this is would there be probably 9, maybe 9? I'm not sure. I just made that number up. I know there's 8 community college districts, so that's how I deduced that. So I'm not sure. There might be several from a couple. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Chair McGrath Trustees, Dr. Mascio is in her second year as a faculty member at Gillette College. She also serves on the AI task force. She also has her own website as she researches and publishes on AI in higher education. She's doing some phenomenal work, and I meant to get you her website, but I just couldn't put my hands on it fast enough. But we'll get that out too, because she's doing some really interesting research in that area.
She's been such a valuable member of the AI task force, which I'm going to be talking about soon. So yeah, we're certainly, it's certainly great to have her here at Gillette College.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good news from the trustees. I will start that you see the big TV behind us. That's so that all of you can see the same things that we're seeing behind you. So kudos to Marty and his staff for getting it put up, and then the IT getting it wired in. I'm waiting for bald spots and things to show up back there, but glorious. So other good news from the trustees. Short month. All right.
Well, I like to say that Josh, is a good setter for renovations. And to all of our kids within the school district and the college who participate in activities, how successful our kids are, whether it's male teams or girls teams. you know, we really represent Wyoming well at the secondary level or at the college level. So whatever we're doing right. So Sean, we're putting a little pressure on you. So your season will open up here in a couple of weeks. Yeah. I'm not really prepared. I just had to say something.
Pressure is a privilege.
I will say that our women's soccer team play Saturday in against LCCC in the first playoff game. So, you know, from their perspective, good luck there. And I know that our rodeo team has done extremely well, and they get to go down to Lamar this weekend. I say get to because that's always a privilege as I play down there myself. And so, good luck to them.
Chair McGrath, the AD Ryback is here. So where, and Coach Leduc, where's our women's team in the nation?
So our women currently sit number 1 in the nation. And fantastic accomplishment thus far. They have one more rodeo this weekend, as Chair McGrath said. Hayden Thompson currently sits number 1 in the women's all around in the nation. So we have some absolutely phenomenal representation nationwide from our student athletes here at Gillette College. Thank you to our rodeo staff. Our coaches have done a great job. We have 5 women representing our program, and they're number 1 in the nation, which is an absolutely amazing accomplishment. We're looking forward to the remainder of the season to see what they can do to finish out.
We do send, we do have an athlete that was hurt fighting a fire. So we do send our thoughts and our prayers to him as he recovers. We're not sure if we'll see him back on campus this fall yet, but we certainly send all of our good thoughts to him and his family as he works towards recovery. So.
I will add, one of my 9-year-old grandsons qualified for the Rough Stock Nationals Championship in Wickenburg. He got educated. There are Texas boys who like to fight as well as Wyoming. And then he promptly came home and won the 9 and under youth football league. Got his little ring.
Any other good news? Angie, you want to share about your son?
My son was on the state golf team. They won state this year, the Camels, and it's the first time in 41 years. So it's kind of a big deal. So,
Congratulations to them.
thank you. And we heard that we do get to go to nationals in July, and it's at Pinehurst. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Awesome. Chair McGrath, well, I'm not a
I was
trustee.
in school the last time they won.
You were in high school the last time they. Trustee or Chair McGrath, while I'm not a trustee, I will share, as you all know, we're expecting our first grandbaby in February, and it's a baby girl. So we look forward to welcoming baby Jones girl, baby girl Jones in February.
Congratulations.
We're excited.
Anything else? All right. Moving on into organizational reports. President Overlander.
Chair McGrath, trustees, I will be as brief as possible. And I know that is hard for y'all to believe, but I will try to be as brief as possible. So the main focus since our last meeting really has been work on the NZ building and accreditation. So we will visit here a little bit later on the work that we've done in the last month too. And certainly Facilities Director Marty Wolf will step you through the process of narrowing down from 9 RFQs to what you have before you today. But that really has taken a majority of time. But in addition to that, we're also working with our partners at Campbell County School District. We have the opportunity to do some assessment on our education program. And so we've been meeting with the superintendent and 2 of his assistants to really take a deep dive into our education program. How are we offering it? How does it need to be offered? And we will meet with them in a follow-up meeting next week where Dr. Spriggs and Dean Fashbaugh will present some alternative scheduling opportunities. How can we increase enrollment? How can we produce more education majors from Gillette and for our district? And so we're excited about those conversations and we're pleased to be at the table with those partners. We had a delegation coming back today. Actually, they're traveling from the National Association of Community College Entrepreneurship. Some really good content is what I'm hearing. And so we look forward to hearing some reports from them. Our new business instructor is there focused on the entrepreneurship track. Dean Grubb focused on workforce, and then Vice President Spriggs focused on multiple areas while he was at that conference. And then Kylie Dotson just returned from the state registrar's meeting. Really good training opportunity for her. As you know, Kylie is new in her role, but she's doing fantastic work. But that networking is really important to her as well. So we're pleased that they're able to do that professional development. In regard to, as you know, with the foundation, we continue to work on the matching dollars for the state grant. And Ms. Gross has reported that as of yesterday, we've received four gifts to receive a total state match of $353,000. So we're chipping away at that 500,000 in scholarship match from that 1 million in state matching funds. And then as of late last week, there was a home donated to the Gillette College Foundation. That home will be put up for sale just shortly, and the funds from the sale of that home will go directly to the NZ building and of course be eligible for state matching funds as well. So those processes are in place and happening. So we're pleased with that. Just from an accreditation standpoint, Dr. Jana Oakes, who you are aware that we've entered into a contract with to review the eligibility application. She currently is reviewing sections 1 through 5. And she's done with that. The next sections will be 14 through 19. And then the last sections that she'll review will be 6, 11, and 12. The goal is that she'll be through those by the end of October, so we have time to make any adjustments before the board meeting in November, which is now a month away. We're down to that 1 month timeframe. Simultaneously, we're working with Dr. Jennifer Miller. Both of these women are, as Roger Humphrey described, they're on the varsity team for peer reviewers. Roger's also a peer reviewer, but you said you're on the freshman team right now. So we feel very pleased that we have this expertise working side by side with us. But Dr. Miller will be on campus to work with the cabinet and the deans the 17th and 18th of November. And we're really going to start working and focusing on candidacy. And within candidacy is when we work and we write to the assumed practices, we write to federal compliance, and we write to the criterion, all three. It really is writing a self-assessment. And so we're going to not only train ourselves on that criterion, but it's some practices, but we're also going to set the timeline, right? So when can we realistically be done with that self-assessment? And so we can begin to set up the timeline for the on-campus visit. So that will happen the 17th and 18th of November. You should then be able to bring some of that forward to you at the next board meeting. But we're looking forward to setting those time frames and milestones, so we can share that with you. So a lot of really exciting things happening in the last month, but those are the highlights. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for President Oberlander? All right. Well, then we will move on to the Gillette College Advisory Board report. Chair Angie Loxo.
Chair McGrath, trustees. So interesting, Janelle, you kind of brought this up already. We had Alex Ayers speak in our meeting this month regarding kind of the state of education and where the schools are on a state level as well as national level. So as far as currently, there's a teacher shortage in Wyoming as well as nationwide. According to the University of Wyoming, in 2010, 256 education degrees were given out, which was only 14.4% of all UW degrees. In 2024, 146 education degrees were given out, which is only 7.6% of all UW degrees. Most recent report, 47% of teachers hired are UW graduates. Our district needs on average 65 to 95 teachers yearly, and there are 48 districts. So, I mean, it's incredible. So Wyoming teacher pay is better than most surrounding states, but those states have gained on Wyoming. And Wyoming no longer pays a premium, which we must do. Why are students not going into education? It's hard to find a work-life balance in teaching. It's not just teaching during the day. You grade papers at night and do a lot of other activities. Longtime educators are not encouraging young people to go into education anymore. And some of the national rhetoric for schools and teachers has been negative. You see conflict between community members and boards being regularly shown in the news media. We have been somewhat we really don't see this here because we have such a good working relationship between our administrators, staff, as well as the school board. So we're lucky in that way. And they say on average, we lose about 10% of teachers yearly to retirement. So as far as Campbell County School District, it's the largest employer in Campbell County with 850 full-time jobs, 850 non-teachers. And as far as this year, our 9th grade class is our largest class to come through Campbell County, and kindergarten and 1st grade are the smallest classes to ever come through, which is interesting. So as far as the licensure issue, last year we had 62 teachers on an exemption authorization. This has changed over the year as far as EA, the name has changed over the years, but it's an alternate certification. So what that means is as long as you have a degree, you can teach for 3 years on this limited license. So as long as you're working on teaching courses, you can work on the license for 3 years. So again, we have 62 this year, and typically, he said 10 to 15 years ago, we had 0 to 2 teachers working on this limited license. One other thing he mentioned was the lawsuit the school districts have against the state of Wyoming. In 2022, the Wyoming Education Association filed a suit against the state of Wyoming, and 8 school districts joined that suit, one of them being Campbell County. And what this said was the state violated the Wyoming Constitution by failing to fund public schools adequately. A new funding model was put in place in 2006, and it was adjusted for inflation through 2010. Since 2010, it's not been adjusted for inflation as required by the state statute. Only 3 permanent adjustments have taken place since 2010, with 2 coming after the lawsuit was filed in 2022. And then he said that the judge will likely rule on this year. Any questions?
Excellent.
I make an addition to that.
Yeah.
I was reading my NEA magazine yesterday. In relationship to why do teachers leave education early, about 60% of them would be because of stress. And the reason, another reason was that teachers or students are not going into education. So they just are underpaid, whether it's here in Wyoming, whether it's in New York, Chicago, or Indianapolis. Teachers are just not being paid, so they choose other things to go to where their salary would be better. And until we get that change as a nation, we were always going to have a teacher shortage. But I don't believe America realizes that. I don't believe the patrons of our country realize that. You go to California, you're talking about teachers driving school buses after school. They get their uniform. I mean, it's really kind of a sad situation that we're heading to. At least that's my point. And it's a sad situation we're in now as a country. And as you said, 20 years ago, how many applicants do we have for an English or a math job? We don't have any. We don't have any.
Sure.
Yes, please.
Chair Lesko, thank you for that. You always provide a lot of great information. And so Superintendent Ayers was talking about the individuals that are, they've got a degree, but they don't have their teaching credentials.
Correct.
They don't have their teaching certificate. So is the district helping those individuals like with a scholarship, or what role is the school district taking to help those individuals get their certification? Did you talk about that?
I'm hearing yes. Yes, and I think that they have 3 years, and again, they of course can go into the teaching job, and be paid essentially as a teacher, but also they are helped.
Do they? I guess a follow-up
No.
is that, so do they have to leave to get that credential, or can they do it here?
I think they do it here online essentially.
Okay.
Yes, is how a lot of them do it is online.
Okay.
I do know a couple of people that, and I have heard good and bad to this, which I'm sure everyone has, but in that they have never been teachers, they essentially weren't trained as teachers going through school initially. So that is kind of a drawback too, because there's that part of it that's missing. I mean, I know I could never teach, I mean, it would be
Developing
so.
curriculum. and-
Yeah, so it would be so foreign for so many people to go into teaching and not be teachers. So.
Great questions.
An example of that, we have a teacher at Thunder Basin, English teacher, who has not graduated yet from the University of Wyoming. She's teaching. And so next semester, she'll be doing her practicum as an educator in the classroom without an advisor. So, but that's the way it is now.
And I think we're probably kind of sheltered from this, in where we live. I can't imagine the bigger areas of what they, the bigger towns and cities, what they're going through.
Chair McGrath, when I lived in Colorado, we very rural community and there was such a teacher shortage there. So a lot of people teaching on emergency certification. So I'm going to add to chair is that our foundation submitted a proposal to the Albogan Foundation in order, and the purpose was that is how can we train adult learners in education, those students, possibly Paris, those types of things. So our foundation was invited to the next step. So Director Gross is working on that application now. So that will also help. We have the Wyoming's Tomorrow, right? Which funds adult educators, or adults returning to education. And then if we get this Albogan grant, there's additional funds to help maybe fill those gaps. So we're doing some good work. So yeah, I look forward to our conversation next week with our school district.
Thanks, Angie.
Yeah, thank you very much. Faculty Senate report, Dr. Oberlander.
Chair McGrath, Gwen Reed is unable to be here today because she is at clinicals, but I would be happy to read into the minutes the report that she provided if you would like me to. Go back into my computer that is.
I'm, Mr. Chair, I would say that certainly I think we include the meeting notes that we put together. I think it's good information. I'm not sure we have to read those in, but I think I would add that they be included in our minutes for the meeting.
And just know that obviously from the Faculty Senate, we certainly value their reports and their value what they have to say and what they know, especially from the entire faculty. So we look forward to, further reports quarterly as we do from our student advisory and as we do from our staff as well. So very much value what they have to say and what they have to do for us. So thank you for that. Moving on to the Cleary and annual fire report. Over.
Thank you,
Sorry,
Chairman.
Chair McGrath. Oh.
One second while Tracy says something. Go ahead, Tracy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just for clarification, I thought that President Oberlander was going to read the Faculty Senate report.
We just said we would have it in the minutes and that report would be in the minutes instead of reading the entire thing.
Okay. I guess I just want to kind of dovetail off of what Chair McGrath has already said about the how we value hearing from the Faculty Senate. And so I think it's important for the community information, the transparency. And I don't know, I'm looking forward to reading that because we haven't heard from them for a while. But again, I hope for in the future that we can have, again, go back to our regular scheduled in-person or designee otherwise presentation so we can capture that information live in the meeting as one voice of the trustee. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Tracy. And I would agree with you. As you said, certainly value what they have to say and in the future, look forward to a live report. Question?
Thank you, Trustee McGrath, Chair McGrath, trustees, and Dr. Oberlander. It's my pleasure to be here today to introduce the high-level overview of the annual security and safety fire report. And I'm giving you some supplemental information to follow along. We've got a presentation up there as well. The actual report is 77 pages. hasn't changed much from last year. It is a Clary mandated report. And it is held for the previous year so the 2024 report is for 2023 calendar year. The reasoning for it is the cause to comply is if we're audited, the obligations aren't met, there can be fines of $67,544 per student per occurrence and can jeopardize Title IV financial aid. So we don't want to be on the radar, and I'm proud to announce that this year's report has been published and sent out and in conjunction with Northwest Community College District. So one report for both places still. Eventually that will separate. And the purpose of the report is to serve as the institution's commitment to prevent crime and promote safety for all students, staff, and visitors. And that's on the next slide, please. And this commitment basically the report consists of 7 major types of consumer information. And obviously statutes, definitions, policies, procedures, awareness, prevention, planning, fire safety. And I'm not going to read all of those. They're up there on the board. We'll go to the next slide. Because this is an overview, this is the important part that everybody wants to hear, the key statistical data. And this is reportable Clary crimes, fire-related activity, weapons, drugs, and alcohol-related arrest or referral, Violence Against Women Act, which applies to all people regardless of gender or identity class, and includes domestic violence, dating, violence, sexual offenses, or stalking, as well as hate crimes. And it's documentation for those. Those statistics are collected from numerous sources, including our staff, our new Guardian system, code of conduct reports, the law enforcement agencies, and the campus security authorities. And just on a side note of that, any students that travel overnight on field trips, we have to reach out to them, to the law enforcement agencies, and obtain crime information where our students stay. And the reasoning for that is this could reveal new concerns or past or common stays. So if we're staying at the same places over and over, it gives us some insight as to what's happening there. Otherwise, it's mostly statistical. But the big portion that we're almost here, all want to hear today is the key data. And that is great news. There's only of the reportable incidents in 2023, the only reportable ones referred to liquor violations. So there were no fire reports, no hate bias crimes, no blah blah incidents, no weapons or referrals for arrests on drugs or weapons. And there were no Clary reportable crimes to include murder, manslaughter, rape, fondling, incest. Thank goodness we live in Wyoming where we get to enjoy some of that.
One second.
Yes.
No, I just.
Oh, the screen slide.
Thanks. Keep
Oh, thank you.
Then can I just ask just a clarification question? So, and you don't have to go back in the slide, but when you talked about when our students travel overnight, our coaches have to provide you whenever, because that's the group that travels the most, our athletes, they have to provide you with where they're staying, and those are contacts that you make, correct?
Yes, we have a preset form now where it can be merge lettered. So when they stay, they document where and when and how, and then that can be merged to a letter that automatically goes to those law enforcement agencies. Doesn't automatically, but it's sent out to them. And as far as the data for the liquor, there was 10 incidents in 2023, 9 in 2022, and only 4 in 2021. And we have to keep this report. It's kept for 3 years consecutively, the data within the report itself. And part of the reasoning for that doesn't lead to a whole lot of concern. It leads to concern that there's any incidents of it, but it doesn't in the fact that it was 2022 when our students returned. So we didn't have that on-campus factor where those numbers are going to be higher just because of the next slide, please, for availability. So this report has to be made available to public entities, the students, potential students, employees, and potential employees. And in order to stay compliant with that, A digital copy is available on both the Gillette College and the NWCCD websites, and it's available internally on our risk management page of the bridge. And a hard copy, this one right here, is kept in the risk management office, and Northwest has one in their risk management office as well. So those are readily available. And we'll stay on this slide for now, but just real quick in your handouts, I passed out the table of contents. And this is just to give an idea really quick that just the highlights of what it contains throughout the report. Like I said, a lot of it is repetitive every year stuff that doesn't change. So there's introduction policy reporting, goes into messaging and notifications, safety and crime data, the fire safety prevention, the VAWA definitions and statutes, reporting and education, prevention and rights. And then it has a section on student focus, section on employee focus, and it gets to the appendix, which is mostly definition. And then as a last thing I've included, I just wanted to throw in there a table of the services available that's also in there, which is just the resources available. The good thing, it does apply to students as well as employees. And that's kind of the quick overview of that. Wanted to keep everybody's time in consideration here, but I'll be happy to answer any questions on the report. It is 77 pages long, so there's a lot of reading there.
Chair McGrath. Trustees, just as a reminder, we have chosen as Gillette Community College District to engage in the federal compliance. We have no obligation to do so until we are recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. However, we are practicing this work, and Ben has worked very closely with Jana Clements at NWCCD on this report and many other things as well. And so I just want to make sure our partners are recognized, because this is a monstrous report. And it takes a lot of coordination to finish this. So between both Jana Clements and Ben, this report has been published, and we're pleased that we can have this as evidence, but we're also pleased that we can look at it for data on our own campus. Is there something within our campus that we're missing? By the statistics that you received, clearly our teams are doing a good job. Doesn't mean that we can't do more interventions, but clearly our teams are doing a good job. So, Ben, is there anything that I missed there that you want to add?
I don't believe so. It's just, it has to be out by October 1st, and we keep that deadline, and it's been published and received the certificate from Department of Ed that it went through. Absolutely.
Any other questions before I let you step aside? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Ben, thank you.
Absolutely.
A lot of work. So is this is available online? to
Yes.
All faculty and staff and students. They can access it through the portal, and it's available to them in terms of resources.
It can actually be accessed by the public on the main website to the public as well, but it's also available internally on our bridge to the staff and students.
Other question? Yes, sir.
So I'm an activities person and I go on a road trip. And I end up going down to the bar. And I get a little bottle of alcohol. So what is our consequences if I get caught? Here,
As the employee or as a student going?
no, as
on
a
that?
student, as an activities person.
As a student going on that trip. So
The athletic director just went, oh my God.
What's our consequences?
So what would happen there would be that an incident report would be created. It would go in and there would be a disciplinary referral, obviously, at minimum, depending on whether there was a law enforcement report as well, or an arrest or whatever. And then that would go through the disciplinary procedures of student affairs to determine the outcome on the disposition.
Thank you.
Other questions? Ben, thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Well done. Now moving on to the curriculum committee, Bo Corkins, chair.
Thank you, trustees. Mine will be pretty brief. So I'm serving as chair of the curriculum committee this year. Super excited. This is my third time on curriculum. I've been on and off it for a long time over during my time here at the college. And this year has been all new because we're going through trying to revise and separate ourselves from NWCCD to see what we have at GCCD. That has included things along the lines of our gen ed curriculum. And we're currently going through our program viability documents. What are 26 programs that we have brought forward, and was that too many, and maybe what do we want to reduce? And then what programs to potentially offer prior to our accreditation, and then what programs do we want to investigate after our accreditation, and going through the program viabilities of all this and looking at various softwares currently using Lightcast. Hopefully we'll be getting grade DI, which is a much, much better one and can really help us make good decisions for programs that our community needs and our community wants.
Questions? Dr. Oberlander.
So Chair McGrath, trustees, Bo, can you talk a little bit about why the curriculum committee is so important to the process? When we look to change a course, or when we look to change a program, the process that it goes through to get from curriculum to approval?
So curriculum works in conjunction. So we have the curriculum handbook, which is all wonderful. And I just finished the first couple revisions of that. And I just wanted to put it out there that it's all on Team Site. And since you guys were so nice to invite me to your meeting, please feel free to come to the curriculum meetings anytime. It's all on the president's website. So just FYI. And so the concept is that in order to, we have to work in conjunction with what is our community need, what is currently in the Common Course numbering system for the state of Wyoming, and the WCCC, the Wyoming Community College Commission, to make sure that a program we bring forward is needed for our community. And then there's additional documents that maybe it can't be in competition too much with other communities. So what we want as a community and what is good for the state, we look at all that in the curriculum committee.
So if we make changes to a course or a program, there's only, if it's what, 65% change?
Less than 25% is usually for programs. Courses, usually we could change all the time as long as we remain in the Common Course numbering system.
There's a lot of work that the curriculum committee
Yes,
has to take a look at, review.
but it's super fun stuff.
Makes it fun.
Last Christ. So if you wanted to offer, somebody wanted to offer a new course, you go through the curriculum first?
Absolutely. New courses, new programs, and new programs that's the one I was talking about. When you bring a new program forward, we have to go through the Wyoming Community College Commission as well. But new courses, we add and delete those all the time, and those come through the curriculum committee.
As always, Bo, thank you for your work. Appreciate what you do.
Right back at you.
Artificial Intelligence Task Force update. Dean Martin Fashbaugh.
Good morning again, Chairman McGrath, President Oberlander, and members of the Board of Trustees. It is my pleasure to speak to you about the accomplishment, scope, and vision of the AI Task Force. Back in April, I was at the annual HLC conference in Chicago with President Oberlander and Dr. Spriggs, and we all noticed that there were a lot of panels on AI, which heightened our awareness of AI's prominence in higher ed. Indeed, go to any academic conference, any administrative conference, and you will find a lot of panels on AI. As a country, higher ed is trying to keep pace with industries using AI. According to one source, 97% of companies will have implemented AI in the next 2 years. It's important that we do our best to train students to, in an ethical manner, use the tool or the tools within AI, the AI tools. According to the publication Community College Daily reported on a study that polled 974 individuals who received a 2 or 4 year degree or skill certification within the past year as well, and also polled 1,000 US employers. And here are some of the findings. A survey reported that more than half, 55% of graduates observed that their programs didn't prepare them to use generative AI tools, with 80% saying basic Gen AI training should be integrated into courses. Nearly 2/3, 62% of surveyed employees believe job candidates and employees should have a foundational knowledge of Gen AI tools, with 58% indicating they are more likely to interview or hire those with AI experience. 75% of employers said their workers use AI tools in daily workflow to help with research, writing, data analytics, brainstorming, and product development. With these sorts of facts in mind, Dr. Oberlander asked me if I would be interested in assembling a task force of faculty and staff across the Gillette College community to study trends in AI in higher ed and make recommendations to the faculty body and administration. I was excited to take up this challenge, so I put together a team of people who are as interested as I was about the topic. The task force was solidified late spring, and we got to work over the summer to establish goals and develop a timetable for accomplishing them. We've accomplished a few. So we have a couple slides or 3 slides. The responsibilities of the task force include to determine academically integral applications of AI for students. In other words, when is using AI for assignment acceptable and when is it not? It's a big question for a lot of faculty. To revise current academic honesty procedure to include AI language. To consider if a technology policy and procedure needs revision and to propose revised language. To decide if an AI statement is needed in every syllabus. To explore effective pedagogical uses, and this is the big one, pedagogical uses of AI and develop best practices. We're currently working on that one. To determine equipment supplies that we might need or other asks that we might need as an institution, and to explore the possibility of offering an AI certificate. And I understand that one community college has already introduced one. So we certainly want to think about putting together an AI certificate. Okay, next slide. So the accomplishments of the AI task force. So the accomplishments, and there are a lot of them. Well, 2 main ones though. So create an AI statement for the academic dishonesty procedure, which is currently under review by faculty and cabinet. To develop a syllabus statement, which is currently under review by academic leadership. Explore many ethical considerations regarding the use of AI. We've talked extensively about the ethics with AI. There's a lot to talk about in that arena. Has read and posted many articles on the topic of AI. We've begun to research into AI certificates. We've begun to develop a best practice list for educators. And we've begun a repository of assignments utilizing AI in the classroom. So moving forward, we plan to have a best practices recommendation completed by the end of this semester. Have a robust repository of AI assignment ideas by the end of the fall of 2024. Complete a preliminary list of budget recommendations by the end of January 2025. Develop AI certificate ideas by the end of spring 2025. And there's also discussion of us hosting a couple of workshops, maybe in the spring, about best practices, that focuses on best practices of using AI in the classroom. So it's been a joy to work with this group of people. I think it's a great example of participatory governance. The faculty and the staff have been wonderful in coming up with ideas. They were very instrumental in the development of the language for the proposed language for the AI procedure. I'm sorry, the academic dishonesty procedure that we're currently working on right now. Yeah. So I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have.
So I have a few. Let me start with this. Is there a site that a professor can go to that they can check AI, a paper written and how much of it is done in AI versus how much is done person?
Yeah, turnitin.com has now has a feature that allows us to detect AI. but it's not 100%. There's such a thing as false positives. So, so instructors have to be careful about just relying on Turnitin. So there's other things that they have to do that they should be doing to be absolutely certain that students are using AI.
So if a student uses AI, if you will, if I can ask kind of a question, if a student uses AI maybe to get a start on a paper, say it's a biology paper, and you know, 'cause it's out there. I mean, and you set your parameters, if you use ChatGPT and you set your parameters, and then it writes it, and then you modify it based off of that. Where does that fall in this purview of, and I don't know, I'm asking for, you know, where does that fall in the purview? Is that now plagiarism or is it not because somebody helped you?
We haven't gotten to that yet. No, I'm just kidding. No, what a great question. And these are, and we're really starting to immerse ourselves in topics like that. But I will put together some answer to your question. So I think a lot depends on the outcomes for the course. Now, if it's a writing course that's for business, for instance, and we're preparing students to enter industry and the course outcomes suggest that some utilization of AI technology is acceptable, great. If you're in a composition class, that's a different matter when you look at the outcomes and you're trying to get students to practice invention, to come up with topics on their own, to develop their voice, right? Develop authentic arguments with using their own voice. That's a different scenario. So it kind of depends on the class, the outcomes, the context. But great question.
Great answer. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Trustee Paul.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Dean Fleischbach, thank you for the work you and your committee are doing. I don't begin to even start to understand, or I mean, I question my own natural intelligence versus artificial intelligence. However, I think that this is such an interesting topic, and unfortunately, what we see is the negative types of things that are coming out. I reflect back on, I think this past summer there was a reporter and journalist at Cody Enterprise that did a fake story and is I guess no longer employed, and so I really think that the work that you're doing, and I just wonder with these workshops, if it's possible that beyond the faculty and academic side, if there's not a business aspect of this, a community aspect of this, because I struggle to understand it. I don't know what GPT, I don't know what that is. And I'm older and probably past the point of, like I said, gaining that type of knowledge. But I think that because this is so important, it's becoming such a major topic globally.
Yeah.
That I wonder if we couldn't maybe be a leader in terms of helping people better understand and the things to look for. And I just throw that out because I really appreciate what you and your task force are.
Well, I think being a leader, that's the overall goal of accomplishing these small goals is for us to be, as a Gillette Community College District, to be a leader in the state. I mean, I think that's the ultimate goal, is to lead other institutions in this area. So many institutions are so far behind in that. There was a study that said that students are actually utilizing AI more than the instructors are. So we have some students who are more adept at using AI tools than the faculty themselves. It's not surprising when you think of it.
I would say one thing. I think technology always moves so fast. Like, light speed, that it's always hard to keep up, especially from an instructor's perspective. You're always going to be behind because, and it is what it is. And I guarantee you with 3 kids, the students are using it much faster and much more than you think they are. So just know that that's what's going on. So
I'm there with you.
Trustee Wasberger.
Thank you, Chair McGrath and Dean, very much for bringing us up to snuff on this. So a couple things. You said that there's already one junior college that has a certificate program in AI. And is that state or national?
It's state, right? It's LCCC. Yeah.
Okay.
LCCC. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, that would be, I totally support us being leaders in the state. And then just a segue off of what Trustee Palmer said, I think, not that you guys don't have enough to do by any means, but just brainstorming. I think adult community ed in this arena would be fun for a lot of us as well. So just a comment. Thank you.
Trustee Wasberger, thank you for that. And I absolutely agree. I think that there could be some potential workshops ahead of how to utilize AI, all the way from the help writing a speech or, some of those things that there's a lot of things that can be utilized from us as a community college to really help people, on that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, our focus has been on, for the most part anyway, has been on delivery of content on pedagogy. But we do have, part of our goal is to eventually turn to the administrative side of things and how we can, as administrators, utilize AI in a very productive way.
Absolutely.
Chair McGrath, it could potentially be a student club or organization service project to run a community education class. Students could do it.
Thanks for those ideas. Those are good ideas.
Anybody else? Trustees? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On to the Pronghorn Athletic Hall of Fame, Dr. Overland.
Chair McGrath, trustees, it is an exciting day at Gillette College because we are officially announcing the Gillette Community College District Pronghorn Athletic Hall of Fame. This is a long time in coming and a long time in development. This process began pre-COVID. This process began pre-split. And so we have worked very closely with our coaches, with our athletic director, with booster club members to bring this to the table today. And so I'm very proud to announce that as of today, Gillette Community College District has a Pronghorn Athletic Hall of Fame. And so here to help us celebrate are two of our inaugural coaches. And I did check with Paul Young, rodeo came first. So Will LeDuc, please stand and be recognized, our first coach at Gillette Community College District with rodeo. And then certainly Coach Sean Neary, our head men's basketball coach, really have been the two that have been longstanding and have helped bring this to fruition. And it will be these two. These two sports, along with women's basketball, will be the inaugural class. And so with that, I would ask Coach LeDuc and Coach Neary and Athletic Director Raybeck to come to the podium and provide additional information.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for what you do for our programs.
Chair McGrath, trustees, Dr. Oberlander, it's our pleasure to be here today to present the Athletics Hall of Fame, the inaugural Athletics Hall of Fame. It's such an exciting time. I'm going to be very brief because I'm going to turn it over to two of the coaches that were pivotal in the implementation of the original Gillette College athletics. And so, but I am incredibly honored, excited to be bringing this forward. It's such a huge testament to what our previous Pronghorn athletes have done, the work that they put in, the work coaches put in, contributors put in, and the impact and the overall accomplishments of all the folks that have been pivotal in Gillette College athletics. I'm excited to be a part of it. We're looking forward to hosting a fantastic event in our first year. We've got a lot of work ahead of us over the next year to make sure that this event is fantastic in its inaugural implementation in 2025. And I am very excited to be a part of it. I'm very excited to work with our current coaches and previous athletes and supporters of Gillette College Pronghorn Athletics. And it's just going to be a phenomenal opportunity to get some of our folks back here to grow our alumni base even bigger and work with our foundation to make those connections with former Pronghorn athletes. It's just an absolutely amazing thing. I'm excited to be a part of it and to bring it forward. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our coaches to kind of talk about some of their past programs, athletes, some of the details of the actual Hall of Fame, some of the criteria that we're looking at. I do want to give a shout out to our marketing director, Maggie, who has been pivotal in helping build the website and the forms and the things like that to launch everything today. So it goes live. And so we're super excited. But with that, I'll turn it over. Coach.
I think we're here because we're the old guys, right? Well, Sean's done a lot more work on this than I have, but over 18 years now, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is our 2010 Women's National Championship. So we've only been able to win that one time. We've been close several times, but those three ladies would probably be at the top of my list. So 17, 18 years of doing this, I could probably name off 20 kids that deserve it. I don't know how the process is going to work. I'm sure I'll have a lot more nominees than Sean.
There's no competition.
But I'll let Sean talk about the details. He's done all the work on it. We'll just recognize my kids probably most of the time. Okay, thanks, Sean. Unless you have any questions.
Yeah, just to reiterate on what was kind of said, 18 years of intercollegiate athletics at Gillette College, if we can believe that. It started with rodeo, our first program in 2006. Cross country came in 2008, and then basketball was added in 2009. So Coach Leduc and I remember when our offices were together over there. We used to bug Terry Anderson all the time, but I think she's the one that wanted the Pronghorn Center more than anybody. Get us out of there. But it's been a great ride for Gillette College athletics, all the success of all the different programs. And it's time that we recognize the athletes and the teams and the contributors. So really the discussion started, as Dr. Oberlander said, in 19, when Dr. Engler was here, we started discussing it. We were really close to launching it in 20 until it fell apart. And then when we got rehired, we started it up again. So now we're ready to present and begin the process of having our Gillette College Athletics Hall of Fame. Couple basic quick things. As soon as this meeting is over, we're going to do Maggie's going to send out a press release to the media. So it'll be out there. The website will go live. So people can get on the website and see the criteria here in a few minutes, I'm sure, as well as the nomination process. So all of that's ready to go, and we're going to roll that out today. I want to thank, of course, Dr. Oberlander being part of the committee, Janie, myself, Coach Leduc. Then we had various members from the community, including Larry Smith, Ron McGrath, and Mike Latke, who have really been part of our athletics since it started. A couple quick things. It's a 10-year waiting period before somebody can be nominated into the Hall of Fame. And what we did was we looked at various athletic Hall of Fames around really this whole area. And then we try to compile what they were doing and then kind of put it together. 10-year waiting period is pretty standard. So soccer and volleyball, being the newer two sports, will not have nominations until soccer is going to be 2028 and volleyball will be 2034. So it'll be those other sports. We're going to have nominations for athletes, of course, that will have an athletic criteria. We'll have a team criteria. Obviously, that team will be one of them that gets in right away, I'm sure. We're going to have coaches criteria. We're going to have contributors. I think as we were putting together the Hall of Fame, we wanted to make sure that we recognize not only our athletes and the teams, but to make sure that a lot of people have contributed to Gillette College having an athletic program and having success. And so we wanted to have an area where those people could be nominated. And then special achievement. We want to make sure we recognize people that have contributed to athletics. So there's different types of categories that'll all be on the website. The nomination process is all on there. And we're just excited to get it going. I think it's going to be a great thing for continuing to promote our athletic programs, continuing to promote Gillette College. And so we're looking forward to that.
I also want to note that we do have faculty representation on the committee as well. So Kelly Derryberry is our faculty rep that serves on the committee too, so that we have the full perspective from the academic side too. Some of the criteria for an athlete does not necessarily include academics, but it's definitely could be a barometer that helps set somebody apart. So we like to have that input as well.
Fantastic. Real quick, trustee, hold on. Did you say you had a date set for the first, if I recall, in Booster Club meetings, and maybe that's not public, I don't know, but you have like at least a dinner date out September of?
September 27th, 2025
27th, okay.
is the date that we are looking at, yes.
Trustee Anderson.
Since we no longer have cross country, is there some group or people that can look at the cross-country athletes to help us identify, because some of those kids do outstanding things?
Yes, cross-country is also considered in part of this inaugural class. Cross-country is part of this as well. They will be considered. That's something that the committee will look at. Nominations are open. The nomination form is open to anyone. And so anyone that was a part of that, previous coach, previous supporters at that time, anyone in this room, like that's something that the nomination's open to that so that we can consider all athletes, all coaches, all contributors that were part of this process. So we will definitely be doing our research in case some nominations don't come forward. We'll do our research to bring those names forward. We don't want any special achievements missed.
The two cross-country coaches, Chris and Sean. We still kind of keep in touch with them. So as we go through this process, they'll be a huge part of that.
Trustee Williams.
Down through time, where are we gonna put the identification board or whatever we create? Is it gonna be in the Pronghorn Center? Is that where we're gonna locate those people who we're recognizing?
So that's something that the committee will continue to work on over this next year to establish the location of the Hall of Fame, details of how it looks, the overall aesthetic, where we're placing it. Those are all things that the committee will be navigating over the next year as we prepare for the implementation in 25.
Job well done to you and your committee, the entire committee. Thank you. Trustee Smith was the second ever Booster Club president we had, and he spent a long time there before he finally said it's your turn. So he turned it over. But going back, there are a lot of people, I think back from the athletic side, from the Mike Ladkeys, the Matt Burgesses, so I'm very impressed, and I like that you are having a special place or a category for those that helped out. They weren't just athletes that helped. We're very fortunate in Gillette to have a lot of community support for our overall activity programs, which includes, Energy City Voices, but for the Athletic Hall of Fame, a ton of support. So I'm very appreciative of that, down through the years. So well done. Thank you. Okay. Yes, sir.
Before we leave old business, can I go back for a minute to the report that we couldn't get because Ms. Reed wasn't here? And I guess following up with what Trustee Wasserberger said, because it's been a while since we've had a faculty report, can we put that on the agenda if Ms. Reed would be available at November meeting, maybe December meeting? I think it would still be good to have. Again, I missed that aspect of it.
Agreed.
And I think it's a critical aspect of what makes Gillette campus or Gillette College, the district as successful as it is as our faculty. And so I think if we could have that back on the agenda, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Dr. Oberlander, when we have our meeting, we'll remember to put that on. And again, full purview of the public, we very much value the faculty and what they have to bring, including the faculty senate. So I would love for them to reconvene and bring forth a full presentation again. But we'll go down that road. So thank you. Yes, sir. Anything else? Okay. Moving on into the NZ building update, Facilities Director Marty Wolf. As he is coming up, I would like to thank him for all of his work to this point. He's a lot of time, effort, and energy to get to where we are. So I'll let you move forward with your presentation.
Thank you, Chairman McGrath. So we've received 9 statements of qualifications. They were shortlisted to 4, and we held the interviews last week. Competition was pretty stiff. We saw some really great stuff. The interview committee ultimately chose a firm with a base in Wyoming that we've also worked with before here on campus. The fee proposal was reviewed by the committee, and I believe there's a motion to move forward with that today. I can answer any questions.
So I would add that the committee consisted of President Oberlander, Vice President Larson, Trustee Palmer, myself, and then Scott Durgan from the advisory board as well, and then Matt Olson from the county. So I think when we reviewed all 9 proposals, they were all very, very good, but the 4 that we interviewed were absolutely outstanding. It was not an easy choice and not a full-blown, this is the one that is head and shoulders above everybody else, but we came to, I think, a great consensus. I would agree that they're very good, excited to work with them. I think they have a great vision for what, well, let me back up. They don't have a vision for what the NZ building is going to look like. They gave us some quick things of what it could be, but it's really going to be based on what our college, our faculty, our staff, our board of trustees, our administration, and then what the community wants. It's the preliminary vision is a big building. It's a 40,000 square foot building, but then also that includes some remodel of Old Main with the library, some different things. So this proposal is it's a fairly large proposal. It's an extensive proposal. And so in that, I again, very impressed with all 4 presentations, and it was a lot of fun to be a part of, and I think we have a great committee to start this off to move forward. So I would add anything else, Scott, including yourself, Vice President Larson, and then.
Yeah, Chair McGrath and trustees, while part of the RFQ process was that the firm that we selected could take us into phase 3, for us, that means the architectural designs and drawings. Today, we're only considering the conceptual designs. And so in your packet, you see the proposals for that phase 3, which would be the architectural work and when we put shovel in the ground. But today, we're only considering the conceptual design work. Now, might we come back later and ask you to move that forward? We very well could, but today is just the conceptual design. So in your packets, it is under phase 1 NZ Applied Learning Center. It's the level 2, which is at $332,000. And then phase 2 main building renovation, level 2 subtotal, $66,500. So it is not the full amount they're proposed.
Questions from the trustees on that? So 332,200 and 65,500 and
66,500.
excuse me, thank you, 66,500. And so that everybody's aware that was in our budget this year for this fiscal year. So that was planned. This amount is within that. So.
Chair McGrath, I would also point out on the page where it has the signatures, one of the pieces that the committee who did the interviews asked for consideration of was to rather than put the building on a slab, put the building on a basement. And so you see that additional cost if they were to design the building on a basement, which is where the HVAC equipment would go and see storage. But also in this proposal, it did not include the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, the FF&E. So we asked them for what that would cost for them to help us design that out as well. We certainly don't have to add those costs, but they are there for your consideration.
And I mean, the committee or the architectural firm was MOA. So I'll acknowledge that's who was selected by the committee. MOA is out of their office is based out of Casper, Wyoming, and so at which they have another office in Denver as well. So they were who did Inspiration Hall. They did Westwood behind us, and there was one other building I think they did. Maybe it was, oh yeah, Thunder Basin. Kind of a big one across the way there. So they've definitely been a part of Gillette and a part of our things. So
Chair McGrath, from legal perspective, is there anything from legal counsel?
Mr. Chairman, I discussed with President Overlander and with you that my understanding, and I believe the board's understanding, that this is a proposal for fees for only that level 2 schematic design, and the scope is limited to that. And that it's my understanding the action today was to select them
at those rates only that extent. The document that was tendered is somewhat more comprehensive. So that, just to be clear, this document is actually essentially laid out as a contract. And that's not the action that the board is undertaking today. It's just to approve this firm. And for those level 2 under phase 1 and phase 2 only, so that the approval that you're considering today would be to select this firm, but then subject to contingent upon reducing the agreement to an actual formal written agreement.
So what I have written down is yes, that this, I will request a motion to approve the fees proposed by the letter by MOA, subject and contingent upon the negotiation and final form of an agreement. So understand that will be what I will request. Yes, sir.
So Mr. Chair, do we need to specify that it's only for phase 1 and phase 2?
Yes.
Level 2.
Right. Level 1 and level 2.
Well, level 2 of each of those.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And if I might, I just echo your comments. I didn't sit down on the preliminary, taking it from year 9 to year 4. But I was asked, and I appreciate the opportunity, the 4 architectural firms that submitted and were interviewed were all outstanding. The teams they brought in, I learned a lot going through that process in terms of, I guess what impressed me the most was their energy and their excitement and the work they put in to helping us take a look at what this building could be, as well as what the remodel of Old Main might be as well. And so I congratulate all 4 firms. I'm very pleased with the outcome of the discussion with MOA Architecture being the lead. With that being said, that any of the other 3 would also be very good and were very good candidates for selection. So with that, I appreciate all 4 and the time and the effort and the commitment they put into to helping us move forward with the NC building.
Wonderful comments. Thank you. Yes.
So this additional scope for the basement and the FF&E is not something that we need to worry about now.
Great question. I want to defer to either President or Marty. Is that something you'd like us to have as part of this right now?
Chair McGrath and certainly Marty and trustees, I think when we begin the conceptual designs, you're going to want to know if the building's going to be sitting on a slab or on a basement. But then also the FF&E is really important in the overall scheme of the cost of this building. FF&E is usually a quite large amount. And so I think it would be money well spent. So when we are ready for phase 3, we have a really good. Those are phase 3 issues. Well, no, they really have to be considered in the conceptual designs. Okay. Because when we need to know how much money we need to raise for this building, right? And if we don't include the FF&E in these conceptual, we're going to be guessing at what that FF&E is going to cost us. But the basement, certainly you'll want in storage area, basement rather than a slab. You'll want that in this beginning phase as well. Conceptual design. Marty, did I miss?
I agree.
So in that, does that adjust the let's call it 390, 398,700?
Yeah, it would increase that cost by 35,000 and then 125,000.
Mr. Chair, is there money in the budget for those additions?
Chair McGrath, trustee Larson, Vice President Larson, do you want to address that question?
Certainly, Chair McGrath and trustees, we did have some carryover that I had included, I guess, marked out for this whole package. So yes, we have the extra 35,000.
The extra 35 and the extra
160,000.
Oh, there it is. Okay. So just like this right number in our.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Yes, sir. Mr. Williams.
Are we keeping Diana abreast of what this facility looks like? And using her input of what Mike or Senator Enzi would like to some degree. And he was very visionary.
But trustee, let me real quick. We're not to that point yet.
But are we keeping her abreast of what, where we're at? Okay.
Yes, but when you talk about the design, we're not there yet.
Okay.
What they brought up was a very rough, hey, this is some things that we thought about, but every firm, especially MOA, was very much that this is what's going to be what you guys want, what your community wants, and then we'll try to meld it together from there. I mean, there's first time being a part of this, it's taking blocks over here and putting them in here and some blocks here and so a whole lot of that. So yes, sir. That's a great question.
And Chair McGrath, part of our conversation was that there will be various committees. And so one of those committees will be an advisory group. And Mrs. Enzi will have to be, not have to, we will invite her to that advisory group. She's important to that process.
She is.
Certainly. And she's very clear on what she wants in that building. So she'll be very integral to that process. So.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Great question.
So Chair McGrath, just to recap, what we're approving today is level 2 of phase 1 and phase 2 to include the basement and FF&E. Did I read that correctly? So level 2 of phase 1 and phase 2 to include the basement and FF&E.
So for a grand total of $558,500. Does that sound right, Vice President Larson?
Correct.
Thank you. If we include everything.
Yes, sir. I might say that, and I agree wholeheartedly with Dr. White. I think FF&E is going to be critical, knowing what this going. And I think because at this point, going back to what you just said, that reasoning process that MOA is going to take all of us through. And that's cabinet, that's faculty, that's staff, that's the community. And eventually back to the Board of Trustees, that's going to determine what stays in Old Main and potentially what might move into this new building at Enzi. And so that could all change. And so I guess with the basement, I think it's important we put that in. There may not be a need for the basement. And in addition, because those of us who have been involved in the buildings along this corridor, know how good the soil is not. And so it may just not be feasible. And I guess what I would see eventually is if we go through this whole process and the CMAR chooses, the construction manager at risk comes back and says, here's a basement alternate. And then the board could say, based upon funding and that, yeah, we maybe look at this as an alternate because the cost it just may not be there in terms of building this building. But I think at least having it in the process and having MOA talk about it, I think, because we know that we lack the ability to store. And even though a lot of it's digital anymore, there still is some need for storage of materials, of equipment, those kind of things, which I think might be helpful if we had that ground level type of thing. So with that, I guess I would call for the question.
I need a motion.
Just call for the motion.
So the motion would be, and again, I'll let somebody move, to approve the fees proposed in the amount of $558,500 by MOA, subject to and contingent upon the negotiation and of a final form of agreement. Right here. That's stated.
So move.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. So it has been moved by trustee Williams and seconded by trustee Anderson to approve the fees by MOA proposed in the amount of $558,500 in the letter that's attached, subject and contingent upon negotiation of a final form of agreement. Discussion. Yes, please.
To include level 2, phase 1 and phase 2 with the addition of FF&E, and the basement.
Yes, thank you.
That's a lot of
Did
motion.
you get that? Would you like me to repeat it or, okay?
I'll go back and watch the recording to get it all.
It's a long motion. And thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Are you guys okay with amending your motion in your second?
Yes.
Okay, further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Exciting day.
It's an exciting day. Marty, you have some work. Please get with them and inform them, and they can get with Lakewood Council Horning to refine their agreement to everybody's. Thank you. Thank you. Board evaluation. Yeah, thank you. Board evaluation and retreat. We have been discussing our board evaluation. I have, lack of a better word, given the okay with the questions that we've used previously. And so you guys will all be receiving those here shortly for our board evaluation. And then our retreat will be December 5th with Ken Burke as our facilitator. Dr. Oberlander and I had a really good conversation with him yesterday. And excited about what he can bring to our retreat and moving forward and where we want to go. Dr. Oberlander?
Chair McGrath, he will be reaching out to each of you. I provided him with your cell phone numbers as well as your Gillette College email address. So he'll be reaching out to schedule time to meet with each of you to talk about what your goals are for this retreat and a few other questions. So he looks forward to those conversations. He is from Florida, just so you know, and power has been a little difficult for them, but he'll be reaching out to you in the coming days.
So if you get a 727 number on your area code, you'll know where it's coming from.
He'll love coming to Gillette. So
He actually, when we had the conversation with him, he was in Idaho at the current time with Northern Idaho, talking with them about their board and there. So he's done some work and, you know, a fair bit of work in this area and even including Wyoming. So excited about it. New business, preliminary audit review, Ms. Yeah. Vice President Larson.
Good afternoon again, Chair McGrath and trustees. We have completed the bulk of our work for our annual audit, and Brittany Wilson with MHP is here to kind of give you a summary of where we are so far. A couple more things we need to wrap up before we put in the foundation numbers, including the foundation audit, and we'll have a final for you by November. But I think most of you remember Ms. Wilson from last year, and she's back with MHP.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Chair McGrath, trustees, President Oberlander, I'm happy to be with you today. You all should have received the preliminary draft of the audit report for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2024. So I've prepared just a couple of notes, things I wanted to highlight, make sure you kind of understand what it's relating to. Of course, please stop me whenever if you have any questions. As Vice President Larson said, my name is Brittany Wilson. I'm a CPA and a partner with MHP down in Cheyenne, Wyoming. This is our third year, naturally, on the college engagement. So really quickly, two parts to your audit. The first covering generally accepted auditing standards and the second under governmental auditing standards. I'll go over just a couple financial statement highlights, make you aware of your significant accounting estimates which are within your audit report, and then cover the report to the Board of Trustees. So the first auditor's report that you will find is on pages 1 to 3. These generally accepted auditing standards are set by the AICPA. They apply to audits of all entities, and it's what's going to cover your financial statements and the related notes. So happy to say that currently we will be issuing an unmodified or a clean opinion on the financial statements, and I don't anticipate that changing. Really where we're at, it is a preliminary draft, only a preliminary draft because we don't yet have the information of the foundation, which is your component unit and required under governmental, as a governmental entity to be included in your audit report. But that is on track, and we should have that to drop in shortly. So I feel very confident in all of the college's numbers, which are presented here.
So next, a couple of things on pages 4 to 8. You'll see management's discussion and analysis. This is required supplementary information within your financial statements. And it just provides a really high level comparative overview of the last 3 years. In general, in your financial statements, not surprisingly, obviously things continue to increase as operations pick up and increase and the transition and the split continues. Within your statements of net position, just a couple of things that I wanted to point out, make you aware of. This year, we are showing investments under current assets, and those were short-term CDs that were purchased during fiscal year 24. We are still showing a couple of significant receivables from NWCCD. So the first is in that due from other government, that 1.4 million, and that relates to what we call campus course revenue, net of related expenses that you're still going to get paid for the college courses that are happening here on your campus. Also, as a receivable from them, the right to receive assets that have been established within the last couple of years. Those are buildings that through various agreements, MOUs, Gillette College is set to obtain ownership to. It just hasn't legally transferred yet. Any highlights in yellow you see throughout are just numbers that will be impacted once we get the final foundation report. So that investments held by other is the number of investments held by the foundation on your behalf. Property tax collections have a pretty significant impact within your financial statements. A couple of balances I wanted to make you aware of there. You're showing a property tax receivable and unavailable property taxes, and those relate to the taxes that were assessed 1/1/24 but aren't levied until after your fiscal year end. So our accounting standards just require that gross up on your financial statements. Another large number within the liabilities section is that advanced payments number. So that also relates to property taxes. A couple of years ago now, when the legislature passed Senate File 60 and made things really fun in that world with the mineral ad valorem taxes, which of course has a significant impact in your county. So what that is representing is mineral taxes from 23 and 24 property tax years 24, 25 that you have already started to receive because how those are collected monthly and then remitted to the county and then distributed to you. However, in accounting world, you can't actually recognize that revenue until it's been levied by the county. And so there's just kind of a delay there. So you're getting a lot of funds before technically under GAAP, we can recognize them as revenue. So that's what that number represents. Custodial deposits saw a large increase. That's primarily the BOCES funding. I always have to check that word. Sam's my expert there. And then you are showing as well a net pension liability within non-current liabilities. As a reminder, that is your allocation of the net pension liability of Wyoming Retirement Systems. A quick note, as I know, boy, was it a headache last year, the total OPEB liability. You still do not have a share of that OPEB liability this year. You are included in the state report, but you have a 0% allocation, and that's just based on the number of people in the plan and then potential future retirements. And since you also don't have any current retirees from your entity, your allocation there remains negligible. So you have 0 allocated there. But I wanted you to know that was corrected and you were in the report. So then the statements of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position overall showing near a $3.8 million increase in net position that will be adjusted once we get that final investment number from the foundation and that investment income changes. So overall, several significant increases here. As a reminder, that campus course revenue, that's the fancy word that we use to not say tuition revenue, because NWCCD, they claim the tuition revenue So that's our wording for it, but pretty much tuition revenue. And then the state and local grants saw a significant increase there. A big portion of money coming through the Wyoming Innovation Partnership state grants. And then overall, you're also going to see obviously continued expenses, especially as a lot of faculty transitioned over to the college. Note 10 will give you additional detail about your expenses. As a note, 59% this year related to compensation and benefits. So definitely a big spike there. And then overall, the notes to the financial statements do begin on page 16. There's a lot there, a couple of things that I will make you aware of as they are considered significant accounting estimates. So number one is in note 8, and that's the net pension liability that we talked about briefly before. So that amount is actuarially determined. Wyoming Retirement Systems hires an actuary and they determine what that net pension liability is. So the total future funding of everybody's retirements minus the fair value of assets that are currently sitting in that plan, in that trust for that funding. And then your allocation is determined as a percentage of your contributions to that plan as a percentage of all state contributions. Unavailable property taxes, we talked about that gross up. Taxes that were levied in assessed in 2024, but weren't levied until fiscal year 25. And then the subscription-based IT arrangements discussed in note 5, that's an estimate because it does include management assigning an implicit interest rate to those arrangements since they aren't stated in the agreement. The next auditor's report, the second and last one, is on pages 35 to 36. This is our report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on an audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. So as a governmental entity, we have this additional report, and here is where we report on internal control over financial reporting as well as compliance, particularly with state laws and regulations. So happy to report in here, no reportable internal control deficiencies or non-compliance to note. So another clean report. And then you should have also received, in addition to the audit report, a second document that's titled Report to the Board of Trustees. So my professional standards require that I communicate to you all, as those charged with governance, a very specific list of things. So that's what this document highlights for you. But overall, no changes to significant accounting policies, no significant unusual transactions, no disagreements with management, no significant issues or difficulties. Overall, I think the audit went really extremely well. And I would like to give my thanks to Vice President Larson and Sam, because I know this just takes, boy, a ton of work on their end, and they're fantastic to work with. And I want to make sure you all know that. So that is kind of my high level summary, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, first off, then I would say thank you for your work, but both of you, thank you for your work, for all that you've done. And if her life is easier, then I think our life is easier. And so,
Right. Happy auditor, happy life.
exactly. So thank you very much for that. Questions from the trustees? Yes.
I just had one question.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for the report. Thank you for getting it done by November.
Yep.
Much appreciated. I do, as one trustee, I appreciate that. So Ms. Wilson, you mentioned that, I think you said total compensation and benefits is about 59% of our budget. And I know that your firm does several of the other community colleges in the state.
We do 7 of the 8.
7 of the 8. And so.
I won't name the outlier.
I think we all know. But having that, I guess, having that background and without, I guess, is that 59%, is that typical? Are you seeing that amongst the other 7 that you do?
That's a good question. I think typically, I'm trying to run the numbers in my head really quickly based on what I've seen this year. I think that's pretty actually consistent. Usually maybe like low 60s is actually pretty consistent, but it will be the majority falling in that C&B compensation. Yeah. Yeah.
Questions? Well, thank you very much. Thanks for
Yeah.
your work. Have a
Thank you.
safe trip back to Cheyenne.
Thank you. Will
All
do.
right. Okay, moving on to the contract for grant writing services, Vice President Larson.
Good afternoon again. In 2025, the budget you approved included a grant writer position. And we conducted a search, interviewed a few candidates, and didn't come across anyone that met all the criteria we were looking for. So we decided to have a conversation with a organization called Community Centered Consulting. They are based out of Pennsylvania, but we've talked with them a few times, contacted their references, and in your packet, you have professional services agreement from them for your approval. The contract amount is $50,000 per year, but because it's a 2-year contract, the $100,000 value is above our limit for approving ourselves. Your legal counsel has reviewed and Community Centered Consulting accepted all of Attorney Horning's edits. There are 2 further edits we have found that are just typos in there. One I did want to point out that we will correct before signing and sending back. It is the very first scope of services. We will get 10 mutually agreed upon grants. He will apply for 10 on our behalf per year. A minimum of 10 up to 20 per year. And then there was also in the agreement itself, item 17.16 includes another item that should be labeled 17.17. We just need to break out that sentence that we are not waiving our governmental immunity. So that's just a different item. So a little technicality, but I just wanted to point out in case you see it. Their principal is Bill Gradowski, and his company will handle the complete life cycle of grant management from application to writing and data collection. Most importantly, award management and compliance with funder requirements. So he'll be very involved in every step of the way. We think this will make a process smooth and efficient for us to obtain everything from the more lucrative federal grants to even, the little smaller foundation grants. They're all important and many things we could do with all these different opportunities. So we've already discussed building and facilities grants as well as educational programming. So we're excited to hit the ground running with him as soon as we get this contract underway. So happy to answer any questions.
Trustee Scott.
Are they doing any grant writing for other community colleges?
They basically, I guess, he's been doing this for 15 plus years and mostly with K through 12. I don't remember. He gave me a list of his references, and I did talk with a couple of them. I don't honestly remember if they're community colleges. They have Spearfish, is it? K through, sorry?
Asheville State.
No, the K through 12 group over.
Oh, Rapid City.
Rapid City, thank you.
I'm just, if he's writing for other Wyoming community colleges.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Right, very good point. He doesn't have any other clients in Wyoming. He does have universities, but I don't know community colleges.
Good question. Trustee Anderson.
So there is this monthly compensation and then there is post-award compensation. What would that be?
Yes, so thank you for that question. We will pay him a grand total of $100,000 broken out by month for 2 years. And then on top of that, he will, if a grant allows a grant evaluation service, that first article 3.02, then he will get whatever that is. However, most grants also have an overhead cost or an indirect piece. And that indirect cost has to be either everybody defaults to 10%, or you can apply to have a greater indirect cost. And he's going to help us with the application with the federal government. I know Casper College's indirect cost is 25%. And there's one other college that has 15% and the rest default to 10. So we currently, like the M. Shaw grant, we currently have 10% overhead that we receive. We keep all of that. So if they're both, and they're both 10%, it's a wash for us. If there's a 10% grant evaluation services, but our indirect cost rate moves up to 15%, then we would get an additional 5%. But he's managing every aspect of managing the grant or his group. Does that answer the question?
Question. Other questions? Okay. And I would entertain a motion to approve a 2-year professional services agreement, Community Center Consulting, in the amount of $4,166.66 per month.
So moved. Second.
Has been moved and seconded to approve a 2-year professional services agreement with Community Center Consulting in the amount of $4,166.66 per month. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Larson. Moving on to the Pronghorn Center sponsorships, President Overlander.
Chair McGrath and trustees, we have reached the age where our contracts for some of the sponsorships in the Pronghorn Center are ending for contract. And so we would like, the Booster Club has asked me to bring forward their recommendations. We would like to provide this information to, by contract, our original sponsors. They have right of first refusal. Of course, they're beginning to work on their budgets for the next year. So that's why this is in front of you now. So the scoreboard in the Pronghorn Center is Pinnacle Bank, and that full sponsorship was $60,000, and it was for a 5-year contract. The Booster Club would like your permission to offer that same amount and same 5-year contract to Pinnacle Bank. Because if they accept, there would likely be no additional artwork. Should they not accept and not want to renew the contract, the Booster Club would like to add an extra 5% to pay for new artwork on whichever sponsor comes forward. In regard to the digital board, the 2 banners on both sides of the digital scoreboard, White's Motors and White's Frontier, each side of that digital scoreboard is $15,000 for total sponsorship of $30,000. Again, the Booster Club would like to offer the original sponsor the opportunity to renew. Again, if they decide not to pursue a contract, then we would seek a new sponsor. We need new artwork. And so if White's Frontier or Energy Motors declines, then we would add an additional 5% to that amount to pay for new artwork. So that's what is before you, is to approve those sponsorships.
Questions?
Those amounts, I should say, not the sponsorships, but the amounts.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by trustee Williams, seconded by trustee Smith for the Pronghorn Center sponsorships for the signs that are currently in place, scoreboard at 60,000 or with a 5% increase should they not renew, and a 15,000 on each side of the video board with a 5% increase should those businesses not renew. Questions on that? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Right. Motion carries. Excellent. Moving on to our committee reports. WACT.
I'll keep this brief as I can, and Dr. Oberlander can correct me when I'm wrong here, but I believe the Wyoming's Future Student Award was generally during the business council together, and they've decided that got too busy. So now they're going to do it during the legislative breakfast, I believe, or are they doing it at night? I think at the breakfast itself at the Capitol for the students, and we'll give them their awards for that. Wacky, you're all invited to breakfast that morning on February 7th downstairs on the Capitol. Wacky did send a support letter to the commission to support not increasing tuition. And I'll let the commission decide how that went, but we did send a formal letter, and I was grateful for that. We have Lightcast are doing an ROI economic study, and the colleges, all 8 colleges are putting quite a bit of money into getting this done. And they're going through the finite process. We should be getting that. I think it's gonna be important for all community colleges to understand what we're really getting out of our investment. The Business Alliance Annual Forum is November 12th through the 14th in Laramie. WACT will participate, have people in that. WIP Phase 2, probably all have this on your computers. We had one, it's been discussed, and WACT will be participating in Spokane at the national convention. We will be presenting how WIP works. And there's already other colleges around the country wanting to mimic how we're doing. So as for otherwise, tax relief is quite an issue for all community colleges. There's been rumors of up to a 30% cut back on college funding. That could be really detrimental to everybody but us. And everybody just sitting back and watching that. And with that, stand for questions.
Questions for Trustee Smith?
How come if they came up with 30%? Who knows, Nello? That's a lot. Yeah, it'd be detrimental. And people are just throwing numbers out. It's a long ways from legislative time.
Friend once said, if you want a kitty, ask for a pony. So if you ask for 30%, maybe you get 3%. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Yes.
Of course, Eggs and Issues will be coming up, and we always sponsor a table and we meet with our delegation. Is there a desire by the trustees to meet with our delegation prior to Eggs and Issues to discuss any potential legislative concerns that you may have, or would you like to wait until because we can certainly invite Aaron to come up and participate.
I like doing it after, so.
After the Eggs and Issues? And then just
we normally have, we go right into the room.
Agreed. I like that. The only downside to it is we only get 20 minutes, 15 minutes, because they have everybody else. So, but they're there because they do a pretty, they intend to be there. So versus if we just had our own breakfast, yes, Trustee Palmer.
I guess it would depend upon, at this point, have we seen any proposed legislation that directly impacts the community colleges? Are you seeing anything from this table?
Not yet.
Chair McGrath, Trustee Palmer, not yet, but there's anticipation.
So I would say that at this point, we leave it as it's been, but if proposed legislation does appear, then maybe we rethink that.
I would agree. I would love to bang the drum again on mill levy and getting that changed from an and or an or, but that's, yeah, maybe we can have that discussion with them at that point in time.
Eggs and Issues is, I believe, on January 7th. I'll get an invitation out for that.
Okay. And we can go in, it could go on for hours over Carrie. Everybody's got their own, everybody's waiting for legislations. No one, it's across the gamut on what people are doing at each college. So I think it's waiting to see what happens.
Okay. Any other questions for Trustee Smith? Moving on to the Art Committee. Who is it?
That would be Trustee Wassenberger.
Trustee Wassenberger or Trustee Anderson, I don't care. Here.
Thanks, Trustee Chair McGrath. So Trustees Smith and Anderson and I have met. We have had a positive response by one of our local artists who expects to be able to put an example of her proposal of what she has for our wall. There were two other local artists that we had also made contact with, and either through non-response or verbal communication, it wasn't a project that they were interested at this time. And we have the potential of one more local artist who may be able to give us a proposal as well. And we'd like to have those side by side for you at the November meeting for your input.
Excellent. Any additions? Okay. Questions for the Art Committee? Thank you for your work. I appreciate it. Moving on to public comments. I don't see any on the board over there. Is there any public comments from anybody out there at large? All right. Upcoming events, October 21st, the Student Center and Trustee Dinner at 6:30. So that's right around the corner. October 24th, Treat Street. Love them. November 8th, the Energy City Voices Fall Festival. They also performed at Emma Cleland's funeral, which was a wonderful service. And that was the hardest part of the service for me. They were unbelievable. They were amazing. Besides, Heidi Gross also did an amazing job singing Amazing Grace. Well done, Heidi. Yeah.
If I may add,
Please.
we will miss Debbie.
Yes,
She was quite an advocate for our community and the college.
agreed. Thank you for that. But again, Energy City Voices, if you get the time, boy, they're good. Please go see them. November 15th, the PTK Adult Spelling Bee. And December 3rd, Christmas at the College, 4:30 to 6. I would also like to point out, now that it is getting dark earlier, the bridge looks delightful driving by, and living just up on the hill, and I get to see it every day. It's pretty glorious. So anything else?
Jim McGrath.
Yes.
So Randy Morton, who was one of the advisors for PTK, had planned to be here. Unfortunately, she had some things come up. So if I might speak on her behalf on the spelling bee for PTK. PTK, which is our national junior college, international actually, honor society, will be hosting an adult spelling bee. You have to be 18 or older on November 15th at 7 p.m. in the Commons of the main building. Registration will be open on October 18th, and the link will be shared to register on the Gillette College Facebook page. You can register teams of 2, 3, or 4. We would like to encourage the Gillette College Board of Trustees to have a team. The funds raised from this event will be used to help send.
My husband is the reader. I don't think
The funds raised from this event will be used to help send our students to the PTK Catalyst Conference in the spring. Catalyst is a 3-day conference that brings honor students together to help members grow, learn, and connect with each other. And she has a flyer for you to consider being and forming a team, but also if you would like to hang those in your business or encourage others to form a team. I would love to volunteer, but I really am not a good starter. So, but she would love to see the Board of Trustees form a team. And then the other thing I would add as well is that Energy City Voices Fall Festival performance is going to be based on the Bolognese flu. And I got to hear 3 of the numbers from that performance. It's going to be phenomenal. It'll be a fun evening, and tickets are on sale. You can purchase tickets on our foundation website. And we would look forward to seeing you at that event as well. But think about the spelling bee.
Can we use spell check?
You know, use AI.
We use this chat GP.
I would like to add that those of us who are running for re-election have financial statements that will be due in the next couple of weeks. So don't forget to do that.
You have to fill one out, even though it's 0.
Even though it's 0, you have to fill them out.
Agreed.
I know that.
Also, I
Thank you,
know
Trustee
Jonathan had sent an email that he was sending out questions, and
Even if
I think they did. As we were sitting here, I got an email just happened to see pop up as I was at our computer open. So early voting is open.
Voting's open.
So for those of you that, if you'd like to go vote, thank you, count. I would request a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right. Motion and by Trustee Williams and seconded by Trustee Smith. Meeting adjourned. Thanks. Thank you. I point out, we had 1:45 and it was a long meeting and we got done.
Nice job. As always,
As always.
you set the bar.